I mean, that
As I would say it,
confrontation,
yeah. And I'm not even sure that there was a strike vote taken,
Mhm.
because as I've heard stories before, the guy just said, "Well, I'm not going tomorrow," and enough of this moved around to where it just became a total thing.
Mhm.
And at that point, the union was the only thing that could focus the views. And it had to become sort of the spearhead for the movement.
Now, when you first came in, had Ciampa already met Loeb and talked to him before you got here?
No, we met to meet the mayor together the same day.
What was your first reaction to the mayor? If you can give that without...
No, to give it.
Well,
no, I was
I
going to
think
say, if you can give it without coloring it with everything that came after, it's a difficult thing.
the reaction of the mayor was that, in my assessment of the thing, was it really wasn't a problem.
Where did you meet with him? At his office?
At his office. That there was no problem, and the outsiders had come in and got the people worked up, and actually, had he read the record, he would know that we weren't even in town when all these other things took place. But, eventually in a day or so, either the feeling of the men would die down, or he'd issue an order and force them to take a certain course of action. And he felt very confident that the thing would all blow over in a day or so. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the reason for his sort of refusal to look in depth at the things that we were saying to him. And I think, without question, he was somewhat perturbed because he didn't get the kind of recognition and placement on a pedestal that he thought he should have from Mr. Ciampa and myself.
I mean, you were aware of that very soon?
Well, yeah, we were made quite aware of it by some of the things that he said.
Can you recall?
Well, for instance, he sort of struck me as a Wild West type, back in, the cattle days where your word is your bond and this type thing. And he made great reference to the fact that he was a PT boat commander, I believe, and a rugged individualist. And
he said that himself?
Yeah, these were the things that I recall. The fact that he was as stubborn as a mule, whatever.
But this he said with pride.
Yeah, with great pride.
Were you prepared for
I was going to say, had you researched him out before you met him?
Well, I never met him. I didn't even know who the mayor of Memphis was. But I thought, that we had such a critical situation that, it wasn't going to take a great deal of time to, point it out to him, whoever it was, and then try to get heads together to see what we could do to resolve the thing. And he could never accept the idea that we had not planned it. So he felt that, he was being taken a little bit, I think, and he felt that given the opportunity to talk to the men, he'd have them back to work inside of an hour or so, because of his personality and I think to a large degree the paternalistic attitude that, he's had over the years, and sort of a plantation philosophy also, that, my folks and I'll take care of them, and have been taking care of them for years, and they're going to be humble in the sight of me, and that type of foolishness.
Well, now, I have to ask you something. Is it that you met with him, you and Mr. Ciampa, and we have not met Mr. Ciampa. We've had 3 or 4 meetings with him, but they haven't taken place for various reasons, through no fault of his, I'm sure. In other words, you finished talking to the guy and you went out. What did you say to each other?
Well, we tried to point out from...
I mean, to each other after you were finished with the mayor.
You and Mr. Ciampa?
Well, we were somewhat amazed. Goes without saying, it was the first time, I think, that we'd ever come up against this type of individual. And I'm not saying that he's an oddball, but it was so strange that he had no conception of what we were talking about. He sort of projected the idea that he was, a purist and a moralist, and just could not even sanction the idea of sitting in a room with people who he considered to have broken some law. I think, in the early days of the thing, he kept screaming, "It's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal," and as a part of my duty, I just can't sit down with anybody who's doing something illegal. But it was sort of a a puritanical type of thing that he was projecting.
Well, now, the publicity that Ciampa got the first week of the strike, it was very poor insofar as press and whatnot. The abusiveness supposedly that took place between he and Mayor Loeb, was that true?
There were some pretty hot sessions. I think you have to recall that the newspapers function is to sell newspapers, and the mayor took the position that he wasn't going to say one word unless the news media was there to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a sort of a very strange set of dynamics. We'd be sitting there just talking, and all of a sudden the TV lights would go on.
We have you on television.
And the mayor would leap up and say something real militant. And then the lights would go off, and he'd sit back down. We went on with this kind of foolishness for a couple of hours or so.